Hey, so I'm the author, poet, and digital artist known as The Scales. And actually, I'm going to have a good question for all my viewers, actually. So, this book here, A Legend into the Darkness, I have a huge dilemma with it. And I've always had a huge dilemma with it. It's a very, very complex story. And I've had. I've got a issue where I think it's mainly due to people. Um, they want to find out everything themselves, right? And if I basically give people a bunch of the answers or something right at the beginning, well, then I'm almost like insulting their intelligence. But and they don't want spoilers. I fully get all of that. But then they pick up my book Into the Darkness, and it's way too complicated for them to grasp it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have audiobooks, but I did play for some people, like, through WordPerfect, you can get, like, read aloud and stuff. So you know, um, let one of my books play through, and they were like, well, geez, that one there, like, that was way easier to understand. Now, my other two books, Myth of a Happier Time and Critter Cradle, which Critter Cradle soon will be out, but Critter Cradle was the one I played through, and they're like, wow, like, this is much easier to understand. And it is. Every single other book I'll ever write will be way easier than Into Darkness. The main problem comes in Into Darkness is book 7 out of an 8-book series I'm writing. And that's just the start of the problems with it, because there's so many secrets in the book that and it's not even a book designed to be read once, in the sense of it's so mysterious and it's so heavy full of, like, 70% of the book rhymes, okay? My intention was that people this is why I released this one first, is because where it's so mysterious, I didn't want there's two kinds of spoilers with this book. Okay. So there's your normal stuff, like, yeah, someone tells you a main event, or like, like the character dies and you're like, what? I didn't want to know that, and until that actually you get to that part of the book. So that's your normal spoiler, right? But this book actually has two perspectives. And if you read the other books first, like even if you read A Myth of a Happier Time and Critter Cradle, then go into Darkness, you've already spoiled Into Darkness for yourself. Okay. But if you read Into Darkness first, as I intended, a lot of people get discouraged of reading it, my series, because Into Darkness is so complex. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to put a perspective spoiler alert at this point. So you could watch up to this point and maybe a little bit past, and you won't get any spoilers. Like, my advice, if you love mystery, you love trying to solve something yourself, and you love a good complex thing, you're a very skilled reader, and you're like, you know what, I haven't had a challenge in a while, stop watching my video right now and go get Into Darkness. Please, I'm really hoping it works where you're like, wow, that was perfect. It was like, I was reading through it, I was starting to get confused, and the answers started coming through, and then I read the book again, and then I found more things, and it was like, because that's exactly what this book is like. Okay, so again, before the spoiler part, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to say a poem, and you're going to easily get the metaphor, but you're not going to get the full thing of the poem until I explain it, and then I'll say the poem again. And that's exactly what, like, the whole book of Into Darkness is like. Where basically once I say something, then the whole thing takes a whole new perspective. So even if I say nothing, and if you're an experienced reader, you read Into Darkness, the first time there'll be things that'll be confusing 100%. But that's actually on purpose. That'll be in this perspective spoiler now to once. But once you understand certain things and you read it again, you'll get a totally different perspective of the entire book. Right now, in saying it's designed to be read twice, but it's very thin. It's not even a 100-page book, okay? 70% of the book rhymes. So that's why I say it's designed to be read twice. I wouldn't write this big, thick book and then tell you to read it twice. Like, that's just insane, right? But with this book, basically, yeah, it's designed to be read twice. So the first time you're supposed to read it, so like, let's say if I had all 8 of my books out, it's designed so you read Into Darkness first, and you're like, what the hell did I just go through? And then you read 1 through 6, and then you read Into Darkness again, and the whole book will, like, basically flip on its head. Where everything that didn't make sense before makes perfect sense, and it's, like, 10 times more meaning, and, like, all the poems, like, thicken. So you know how they say, like, a picture has 1,000 words? And I designed this book to paint 1,000 pictures with a poem type of thing. But you're not going to get all the pictures the first time you read it. You're not going to get all the meanings. You're not going to get everything the first time you read it. Right? But, so for the example, and then after the example, if you want to give it a shot, then don't listen to the prospective spoiler. So I will have another warning before I say that. But here I go. How to revolutionize space, a truly traumatizing place, black and as cold as ice, every plan must be precise. We should have looked over them twice, now we all got a slice, failure has an ultimate price. What was our cost? It was who we all lost. I cannot help that now, I can only show thee how. We all lost our path, now I'm stuck doing the math. How many more calculations until the end of the revelations? What is our final destination? Is it complete devastation of all of creation? This story, though, is the first revolution. Of course I'm talking about evolution. A heart only has so many strings. It's hard watching what heartache brings. Every songbird does sing until age affects its wing, and then reality starts to bring all hopes and desires dragging through the fires, leaving one absolution. Thy has reached thy resolution. It's hard believing there will be life as the patient lies cut open with the knife. The heart has stopped its beat. The brain has suffered defeat. Yet we struggle to face facts, thus only one of our cracks. I follow every crack in their places. Fate is what we call its traces. Thus how I get my name. My duty to blame. Right? So you're like, oh wow, that's a cool poem. You probably love the different things and the different metaphors and all this here stuff. Sure. Some of my poems are really great where you can just pluck them out of context. And they do sound cool on their own. I do use some of them in that way where, especially for advertising, because, like, you know, you can't put the poem in context without reading the book most of the time, right? But this one is one of the ones I actually can. So in my entire series, no matter which book you're reading, what I'm about to say is going to be relevant. So the angels in my story, they hear the screams and feel the pain of the innocent, and the demons and stuff hear the screams and feel the pain of the guilty. And over time, it starts to change them mentally, and they're fighting the eternal war and all this here stuff. And I have my own time space, there's like over 700 planets and all this here. So in my series, it's kind of like a galactic space battle, but it's nothing like Star Wars. It's actually between, like, spiritual entities. Like, it's light versus darkness, and they're fighting for the souls that evolve through space. So, and every time a planet is dying, and they're about to rain down Judgment Day, the angels hope and pray they can breathe life into it once again. But sometimes facts are the facts. The planet is dead and it's time for judgment. And that's what that poem I just said is actually talking about. So when I say the poem again now, it's going to make 10 times more sense. And you're going to have like a lot more visual everything. But anyways, I'm going to go again now. It's more to it than that, but it's most of it. How to revolutionize space, a truly traumatizing place, black and as cold as ice. Every plan must be precise. We should have looked over them twice, 'cause now we all got a slice. Failure has an ultimate price. What was our cost? It was who we all lost. I cannot help that now. I can only show thee how. We all lost our path. Now I'm stuck doing the math. How many more calculations until the end of the revelations? What is our final destination? Is it complete devastation of all of creation? This story, though, is the first revolution. Of course I'm talking about evolution. A heart only has so many strings. It's hard watching what heartache brings. Every songbird does sing until age affects its wing, and then reality starts to bring all hopes and desires, dragging through the fires, leaving one absolution. Thy has reached thy resolution. It's hard believing there will be life as the patient lies cut open with the knife. The heart has stopped its beat. The brain has suffered defeat. Yet we struggle to face facts, thus only one of our cracks. I follow every crack in their places. Fate is what we call its traces. Thus how I get my name. My duty to blame. See? So there's a lot more to that story that pops out now, right? Even the duty to blame part, that's his the character who's speaking there, his name is Fate. So that's where that part comes in. So yeah, there's a lot of little things like that the more you know about my series, the more the book comes to life. So Into Darkness, at first, I released it first because if I didn't release it first, it's like not giving people a chance. It's basically like telling people they're too stupid or something to be able to decode my complex story. And that's nowhere near the case. Like, I want to give everyone the chance. But then I get so many people who are like disheartened a bit, and they go to read it and they're like, man, I can't get through like, half the book because like there's certain things that's just not clicking, and then I'm like, oh my god. But then if I tell them, so it's like, it's a big dilemma. So what do? It's like, if I tell someone too early certain things, it's not giving them a chance. But then if I throw them to the wolves, and that's exactly, like, if I just give you Into Darkness and tell you to read it, I'm throwing you to the wolves, okay? I'm hoping you can survive, and you got weapons and shit, and you're ready to go, But a lot of people aren't, and that's the truth of it. Like, my work is not your everyday work, right? 70% of the book rhymes again, right? Like, so, like, people aren't ready for that sometimes, and it's mainly because, so the angels in my story, they use rhyme and rhythm to like inspire hopes and dreams, and the demons, they twist this idea and take that very thing to inspire fear. So you got a lot of the main characters that coming in hot with like these huge rhymes, and they're at the end of their character arcs, and it's like bam, 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 right? One thing after another. It's literally maybe like, I can't remember the exact amount of pages. Let's say it's an 80-page book, okay? And it has 70% of it rhymes with 3 apocalypses, 2 judgment days, and that's not even the complex part of the story. That's not even the spoiler part. Like, I can tell you that. Like, that would be more of like a normal spoiler. Like, oh, I didn't want to know there was multiple judgment days till I started the book or something, right? So this is the part now where if you don't want the perspective spoiler, you have to stop right now, okay? Perspective spoiler, okay? The main character is already dead from the very first page. I think it's the second page. She asks Fate a question, and then she asks him if he could read her own life story, because no one's read her a book in a long time. And as you keep going, you start to realize the confusion is on purpose, because when she was alive, living her own life story, she was a blind albino girl, lost and confused in a dying world, and barely survives, a human apocalypse. World War III like events break out. Then she ends up in like a reptilian base after her mother gets blown up and her brother abandons her and all this. And then the reptilians declare war on humans, and she's almost brought to the euthanization center. in this reptilian base. But she's sold by a very unlikely reptilian, a reptilian nurse, who doesn't have the heart to bring her to the euthanization center and breaks her out, becoming a traitor to her own people. And then it turns into a biblical apocalypse, okay? Where demons rise from the darkness and angels start falling from the sky, and the rapture and all this here stuff starts happening. And this is where she actually dies and ascends to the city of light, where she meets Fate, and Fate tells her to read until she gets to the, basically caught up to the now. She needs to read about the past and everything that happened to catch her up, to learn, and then to understand what's going to happen in the now, right? All of this complexities. And that's where it gets really complicated, because it's not even she starts with her own book, right? The reason why she asks Fate to read her a book is because she's read the first 6. So that's another big thing that you won't even know. Like, that's not even in the book, right? But you will understand. Like, you don't really need to know that. That's why it's not put in there. It will make sense more once you read the other 6, and then you put that one next, and then it's like, oh my god, that makes perfect sense. She just read 6 books in a row, and no one's read her story. She's still a little girl, like, a teenager, right? Like, spiritual teenager now, mind you, but when she was alive, right, she was a teenager. And, so she asks Fate to read her a story, kind of like a bedtime story, but it's her own life. Into Darkness is all about her. And her and Fate are trying to figure out why. So there's 4 characters. No matter what book you read, these 4 characters appear, and it's the most confusing part of the whole series, but Into Darkness is the key. And that's what makes it so confusing. It's the key. Basically, she's... Oh, kind of brain farting here. Oh my god. She's being trained for a mission. So the 4 characters in question are Sierra herself, okay, Fate, the Quill, and yes, the Scales. The Scales is also a character in the series. Very important character. Actually, I'll touch on the Scales. So the Scales is a character, like, yes, I am the Scales, but what it is basically, the fictional character is, has some special powers, and it's basically able to open portals to different dimensions and stuff. And these stories are supposed to be of another dimension, a lot like our own. A lot of things are based off our own dimension, but like our own reality. But it's like an alternative reality. The whole series is like an alternative reality to our own. Well, depending on what you believe. Unless you believe in literally every religion around the world, then technically this might be your reality. But anyways, that's besides the point. But yeah, so she's trying to answer all these questions. So in the Scales, so basically these stories were written by Fate and the Quill, and written for Sierra, so that way she gets trained. And it's kind of like the Scales is trying to bring balance to our universe by bringing these stories to you from another dimension. That's the whole mystery behind the Scales, right? There's a lot more behind them, but that's the gist of why I go by the Scales. And it's basically a fictional character comes and possesses me, and I release these books from another dimension, and it's it's supposed to be this cool thing. But I didn't intend that, some people who don't use their real name use nothing but AI or fake or something like that. So I didn't intend that, no. My writing is 100% my own, and I got receipts. Boy, do I got receipts. I got thousands of poems I've been writing my entire adult life. Okay? And I handwrite the first draft of the book. So I got handwritten Critter Cradle. I got handwritten Happier Time. But now Into Darkness, this is where I learned a lot of my skills. This is the first book I ever released, and I had so many troubles because I had all my handwritten notes, and then I was going straight from handwritten notes to computer. And that's where I developed the idea. So I still have all the handwritten notes, and I still have the original typed up drafts of Into Darkness. But that's where I learned that it's like, you know what? I should handwrite the entire book first. But anyways, that's besides the point. I'm getting distracted a little bit now. So the 4 characters. Sorry about that. So the 4 characters, and then the quill is basically, it's just a quill, yes, but it's a very magical quill. It almost has its own thoughts, its own personality. It has its own superpowers even. Mainly the quill has the ability to basically see through time and autocorrect. And it has the strongest see-through time, like, prediction ability of anything in the series. So, basically, how come is basically it can see both light and darkness's perspectives at all times. So, whereas life, you know, God, Allah, Zeus, Odin, all these different characters are based off of, life is based off of all these characters, sorry. Even though his should be like the most forward vision time, like time prediction. Okay. Brain farting again, sorry. It's late. He has a challenger, Death. Death also can see very far forward in time and has his own plan for all of time and space. So where their 2 plans are always conflicting, and they never know what each other's plan is, they are, like, life and death are each other's downfall of their plans, and the unpredictable parts of their plans are mainly because of the other. But the quill can see both of their plans and both of their predictions, and then both of their plans for their predictions, type of thing. So it can see even further with more accuracy. So Fate and the Quill were designing these books billions, yes, I said billions of years before this little girl's even born, starts designing these books for when she is born to train her for a reason. Now that, spoiler, I'm not going to give it yet. And that's where the whole thing. So now understanding that little bit where, like, these books are being designed for her. She is technically, in that alternate universe, the intended reader. Not you guys. But in reality, it's you guys, of course. You know, I love y'all. But in the series purposes, like in the fictional stories, she is the intended reader of all 8 books. They are intended to train her for a particular purpose and reason that I'm not going to give away here. And all of that happens before halfway through the book. You get to chapter 7, about 40 pages in. Okay? That's how complex my book is. My series and books are so complex. No, it's not AI. I can guarantee you, I don't care if you have an $8 billion AI engine and 20 different ghostwriters and all this. You can have a whole studio. Okay? We end up in court. I can leave my notes at home and I will defeat your AI, all of your writers and everything, because I am the original. I am the scales. I designed and planned all of this so precisely. Nobody stands a chance. So, like, imagine if someone's trying to say all you gave them was the original Hobbit, and they think they understand the Lord of the Rings. It's the same thing, okay? Same thing. Or any of it, really. It's like watching the very first Star Wars movie, and then, you know, I understand exactly every single movie that's going to come out now, and I'm not going to... I can pretend to be the creator now because I watched the first movie. That's exactly what it's like. It's not like I'm trying to say I got special superpowers. I'm saying the entire series is up in my head. And there's only a couple books out of my entire plan. Like, I have a video game planned, movies planned. All my 8 books are already planned. Rough drafts of some of it's already written. Thousands of poems, all of that. Like, you want to try to bring me to court, you don't stand a chance. If you're going to try to pretend you're me, you don't stand a chance. Okay? And then I do have people accusing me of AI because my book's 70% rhymes. It's like, my guy AI wouldn't be able to do what I do. They'll be able to make a book that's 70% rhymes, but not what I just did. I guess you could use this video as a receipt for Into Darkness, but because you feed that book into AI and it'll try to give you some nonsense like, oh yeah, I understand the book, and then you just explain what I just said. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Now I understand the book more. Well, if AI wrote it, it wouldn't be that hard for AI to understand, right? AI don't have the creativity humans do. AI doesn't have the talents humans do. Yeah, it can make a beautiful art piece based off of humans' art piece. Yeah, it can make a good piece of writing, maybe, based off of good human writing. But anyways, that's besides the point as well. It does get annoying when basically someone sees a good piece of art or a good piece of writing and they're like, oh, it has to be our AI because it's good. There was a lot of good art and a lot of good writing long before AI. AI and all of everything, like even Google, like people's like, oh, Google's smarter than people. It's got its information from people. It has to reference people. Okay? Same with all of it. But, again, getting a little sidetracked. Because it does get annoying after a while. People just attacking you and they don't have a sweet clue what they're talking about, man. They don't. They really, really don't. They're like accusing me of being an apple when I'm an orange. It's not. Anyways, beside the point. Back to the dilemma. So Into Darkness is that complex. What do you guys suggest? Do you suggest I just keep it blank, just hand people the book and throw them to the wolves? Or should I give a perspective spoiler? Like, not a spoiler, like who dies when and all this here. Don't tell them about the apocalypses and all this here stuff, but just tell them that the main character's already dead, stuff like that. But then, that's a perspective spoiler, right? Like, the whole book, like, when you read it the first time, when you're confused, it's on purpose, because then when you're reading it, it's kind of like when she was alive, she was confused. At each moment, she was confused, right? Not knowing what's going to happen one moment to the next. And when you're reading it first, you get that same feeling, right? But when you read it again for the second time, this is why it's designed to be read twice. When you read it a second time, you already know she's already dead. You already know a bunch of different things. And then it's like when you are her again, but her sitting by fate, trying to understand why she's meant to read these books. Why? Trying to understand the why is the second perspective of like her trying to understand the why with fate. And, but yeah, so let me know what you guys think. I know this was a really long video. Sorry.